request you all to take your seats, please. We are expecting the chief guest in just a short moment from now. And a gentle reminder to put your phones on the silent mode. Thank you. Just checking the mic one last time. I hope everyone can hear me on this mic. Just a wave. Can you hear me at the back? Thanks. As soon as the guests come,
सर आगे देखते हैं आप लोग हैं ये सर
Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable President of India. The National Anthem. Namaskar, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the National Legal Services Authority, the International Legal Foundation, the United Nations Development Programme, and the United Nations Children's Fund, we extend a very warm welcome to our distinguished guests to the valedictory function of the first regional conference on access to legal aid. On this occasion, we are deeply honored by the august presence of the Honorable President of India, Srimati Draupadi Murmuji, and also our distinguished guests on the dais, Honorable Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, Chief Justice of India and Patron-in-Chief, NALSA, Honorable Mr. Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, Judge, Supreme Court of India and Executive Chairman, NALSA, Honorable Mr. Justice Sanjeev Khanna, Judge, Supreme Court of India and Chairman, Supreme Court Legal Services Committee, Shri Arjun Ram Meghwal, Honorable Minister of State, Ministry of Law and Justice, Independent Charge, and Ms. Jennifer Smith, Executive Director, International Legal Foundation. May I request Honorable Mr. Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, Judge, Supreme Court of India, and Executive Chairman NALSA to deliver the welcome address.
Srimati Draupadi Murmu, Honorable President of India, Dr. Justice Dhananjay Yashwant Chandrachud, Chief Justice of India and Patron-in-Chief, Justice Sanjeev Khanna, Chairman, Supreme Court Legal Services Committee, and my brother and sister judges of the Supreme Court, Shri Arjun Ram Meghwalji, Honorable Minister for State, Minister for Law and Justice, Independent Charge, Jennifer Smith, Executive Director, International Legal Foundation, respected dignitaries, judges, participants, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you. I am delighted and honored to welcome you all to the valedictory session of the first regional conference on access of legal aid. Before I begin my address, I would like to specially thank Srimati Draupadi Murmu, Honorable President of India, for enriching our conference with her presence. I know that the cause of legal access is especially close to her. In the past, on several occasions, she has spoken about the critical role of legal aid in the functioning of a just society. Last year, during the Constitution Day celebrations, her address was a powerful reminder for lawyers and all other branches of the state to rededicate their efforts towards securing justice for the marginalized communities. I want to assure her that we, as members of the legal community, will make every effort to bring her vision to reality. This speech marks the end of what has been 2 days of insightful and intellectually stimulating discussions, and most importantly, a common consensus on what we can do towards the cause of legal aid. At the outset, I would like to thank my team at NALSA for organizing this conference with the support of the ILF, International Law Foundation, UNDP, United Nations Development Programme, and UNICEF, United Nations Children Fund. I must confess, this conference also comes at a very significant moment for me personally, as my association with NALSA is about to come to an end. However, I am proud of what we have been able to build and achieve, and I know there is a lot more to come. To no one we shall sell, to no one we shall deny or defer the rights to justice. The quote from Magna Carta to me reflects in every facet of the Constitution and the justice delivery system. It is not just that the judges in robes who are entrusted with delivering justice. Justice also does not inhere only from good governance, good policy making, and good administration. It is a more comprehensive concept, a total concept, so to speak. It is a factor of our everyday lives. I think that is the message and the intent of this conference as such, conceiving justice totally. This implies involving as many stakeholders as possible, as shown by our plans to hold Chief Justice and Ministerial Conference simultaneously. It is estimated that 2/3 of the world's total population lacks effective access to justice. With Global South being home to a majority of the disadvantaged classes, ready access to justice becomes a grave issue, warranting immediate attention. Today's session, in many ways, encapsulated the Global South's experience with delivery of legal aid. At the same time, it is heartwarming to see the commonality of our experiences and to know that we have so much to learn from each other. As we come to the end of the conference, I would like to reiterate a few aspects from today's events. When we think of innovating to increase legal access, I believe that the use of technology in legal aid and access to justice will be the defining factor in the next few decades. We, in India, have been trying to make use of technology in the judicial setup. The most noteworthy use of it has been the advent of virtual courts, or e-courts. While COVID-19 pandemic brought the entire world to a standstill, I feel proud to say that the judicial system was unaffected and all members of the bar and the bench ensured that justice wasn't delayed at any cost. Virtual hearings allow lawyers and litigants from across the country to attend their respective cases without having to travel all the way to New Delhi, which involves not only time but also money. If the people cannot come to courts, it is the duty of the courts to go to the people. It is in this regard it gives me immense pleasure to apprise all of you that NALSA has developed an e-prisons platform for the digitization of prison management, which ensures applications for remission and bail are processed swiftly, as it sends automatic prompts to the Secretary DLSA in case where an under trial is not released within 7 days from the order of the bail. NALSA has also released guidelines which provide framework for rendering of legal assistance at an early stage. I request NALSA, ILF, UNDA and UNICEF to collaborate and hold more such conferences so that we can all collectively focus and deliberate on specific needs of participating countries. I thank them and everyone who has been involved in the conference. I would like to conclude with the fervent hope that we will reach a collective stage where justice does not remain a luxury for even a single person in the world. Today, when we have the opportunity, let's make it count. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. May I now request Ms. Jennifer Smith, Executive Director, International Legal Foundation, to deliver her address.
Thank you so much. Honorable Madam President, Draupadi Murmu, Honorable Chief Justice, Honorable Minister of State for Law and Justice, and Honorable Justices of the Supreme Court. On behalf of the International Legal Foundation, it has been an enormous privilege and honor to co-sponsor this first regional conference on access to legal aid. I want to thank first the National Legal Services Authority, in particular Ms. Santosh Mann and her team, for their enormous vision, energy, and belief in this conference. It would not have happened without her and her team. I will forever be grateful and inspired by how quickly they put this together, their belief in getting us all here, and the importance they put behind really bringing forward access to legal aid among countries of the global south. I want to thank the government of India for your support, for your hospitality, and for the importance you've placed on access to legal aid and how important it is to access to justice. I want to thank our co-collaborators, UNDP and UNICEF, for helping us put together this important event. And most importantly, thank all of you. We've had almost 200 people from over 50 countries attend this first regional conference, from ministries of justice, from the judiciary, from legal aid authorities, legal aid providers, civil society organizations, and experts. It's been an incredible 2 days of rich exchange, talking about the very real crisis we face in ensuring that those most marginalized have access to legal aid, the challenges, the barriers we face, but most importantly, exchanging ideas on solutions, on best practices, and on a way forward. When we founded this series of conferences in 2012 with the Minister of Justice at the time of South Africa, and he agreed to hold this first conference in 2014, bringing together folks from around the world to address these challenges. We were incredibly inspired by the energy, by the commitment, and by the progress we were able to make through these exchanges. And I'm re-inspired now 10 years later with India's leadership in putting forward the first regional conference, the idea of having exchanges among countries that come from the same region, that share the same history, the same challenges, and really a belief in how we can all move forward. And as was just discussed, I think also the leadership and understanding that Chief Justices also needed to come together to put forward principles on how they could advance access to legal aid and ensure that remedies were available if the right was violated. To have ministers understand the obligation of the state to provide access to legal aid and provide that leadership. And most importantly, to all of you for the outcome document that we've been able to put together because of the good practices that you've brought forward in the panels that we've held over these last 2 days. We know this outcome document will be used in practice to reform the laws, policies, and practices that are holding back meaningful access to legal aid, and we look forward to collaborating with you going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. May I now request the Honorable Minister of State, Ministry of Law and Justice, Independent Charge, Shri Arjun Ram Meghwalji, to address the audience.
फर्स्ट रीजनल कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑन एक्सेस टू लीगल एड के समापन समारोह के अवसर पर हम सबको ऊर्जा देने के लिए मंच पर उपस्थित भारत की माननीय राष्ट्रपति श्रीमती द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी, माननीय डॉक्टर न्यायमूर्ति D.Y. चंद्रचूड़ साहब, भारत के मुख्य न्यायाधीश, माननीय न्यायमूर्ति संजय किशन कौल साहब, भारत के उच्चतम न्यायालय के न्यायाधीश और कार्यकारी अध्यक्ष नालसा, माननीय श्री न्यायमूर्ति संजीव खन्ना साहब, भारत के उच्चतम न्यायालय के न्यायाधीश, हमारे साथ बैठे हुए तुषार मेहता साहब जो सॉलिसिटर जनरल ऑफ इंडिया हैं, सुप्रीम कोर्ट के सभी माननीय न्यायाधीशगण, लीगल क्षेत्र से जुड़े हुए सभी सम्मान्य जो वकील साथीगण हैं और भी नागरिक आए हैं, मातृशक्ति आई है, सबको नमस्कार करते हुए मैं इस ग्लोबल साउथ के अन्य गणमान्य व्यक्ति सम्मेलन के प्रतिनिधि और सभी विशिष्ट अतिथियों को प्रणाम करते हुए मेरी बात मैं प्रारंभ करता हूं। ये 2 दिन का एक सम्मेलन था। शुरू अच्छे दिन हुआ, कार्तिक पूर्णिमा का दिन था, लेकिन कल थोड़ा डिनर के समय प्रकृति ने भी हम पर कुछ कृपा की और फिर हम ऑडिटोरियम में आए। वो भी एक अच्छा सीखने का अवसर था। मैं धन्यवाद देता हूं जो भी मैनेजमेंट में लगे हुए लोग थे कि प्रकृति ने कुछ ऐसा करने की कोशिश की, लेकिन जो आयोजक थे उन्होंने प्रकृति के साथ भी तालमेल बैठाया और तुरंत खाना भी शिफ्ट किया और प्रोग्राम भी शिफ्ट किया। कोई प्रोग्राम डिस्टर्ब नहीं हुआ, इसलिए मैं आपको बधाई देता हूं, शुभकामनाएं देता हूं। यही एक सिस्टम चाहिए, करेज चाहिए, कोई भी परिस्थिति से डरना नहीं चाहिए। जैसे कल मैंने देखा, इट इज ए हैप्पी नोट दैट द प्रोपोज्ड आइडिया रिजल्टेड इन सक्सेसफुल रीजनल कॉन्फ्रेंस। ये मैं कह सकता हूं, इट इज ए हैप्पी नोट। Indeed, it is an honor to host more than 125 delegates from 18 countries from Global South, includes 40 law ministers and judges. कल एक राउंड टेबल मिनिस्ट्रियल कॉन्फ्रेंस मुझे अटेंड करने का मौका मिला, तो मैं हमारे चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया साहब को और हमारे संजय किशन कौल साहब को, खन्ना साहब को कहना चाहता हूं कि मेरा ऐसा एक्सपीरियंस है कि जितने देश के लोग आए थे उसमें हर देश का आदमी बोलना चाह रहा था। हमारे पास टाइम कम था, तो हमने जो लंच हमारा 1:30 बजे था उसको 2:30 बजे किया, तो भी लोग बोलना चाह रहे थे, लंच छोड़ रहे थे, बोलना चाह रहे थे। इसका मतलब बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग कॉन्फ्रेंस थी, ऐसा मैं मानता हूं। आपका जो चीफ जस्टिस के साथ आपकी राउंड टेबल कॉन्फ्रेंस हुई, ऐसा ही अनुभव आपको रहा होगा। इसके लिए जितने भी पार्टिसिपेंट आए उनका आप धन्यवाद कर सकते हैं, ताली बजा के स्वागत कर सकते हैं। एक चीज मैं ऐड करना चाह रहा हूं कि इंडिया G20 प्रेसिडेंसी में अफ्रीकन यूनियन गेट से परमानेंट मेंबरशिप, ये अचीवमेंट था, इसका कल भी जिक्र आया। लेकिन इंडिया होस्टेड फर्स्ट वॉइस ऑफ ग्लोबल साउथ समिट, ये 12 और 13 जनवरी 2023 को ग्लोबल साउथ के लगभग 125 देशों के पर्सपेक्टिव एंड प्रायोरिटी को एक कॉमन प्लेटफॉर्म पर लाना, ये फर्स्ट वॉइस ऑफ ग्लोबल साउथ समिट 12-13 जनवरी को हुई। उसके बाद इंडिया वर्चुअली होस्टेड सेकेंड वॉइस ऑफ ग्लोबल साउथ समिट 17 नवंबर 2023 को। और मैं फिर सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ इंडिया के जो भी आयोजक हैं उनको धन्यवाद देता हूं कि 10 दिन के भीतर भीतर फर्स्ट रीजनल कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑन एक्सेस टू लीगल एड ऑन ग्लोबल साउथ करके दिखा दिया। ये भी बड़ा अचीवमेंट है, मैं मानता हूं। इंडिया हैज शोन कमिटमेंट टू फाइंडिंग पीसफुल एंड जस्ट सॉल्यूशन to global challenges, disputes and reaffirms the need to build peaceful, just and inclusive societies. देखिए, एक थीम थी 17 नवंबर 2023 को जो दूसरी वॉइस ऑफ ग्लोबल साउथ समिट थी, उसमें एक थीम थी टुगेदर फॉर एवरीवन्स ग्रोथ, एवरीवन्स ट्रस्ट। हम 2 दिनों से देख रहे हैं कि यही थीम हमारी थी कि हमने अच्छा क्या किया नालसा में, आप सीखिए। आपने अच्छा लीगल एड में क्या किया, हम सीखने के लिए तैयार हैं। और ऐसा मैं मानता हूं कि नालसा ने बहुत बड़ा काम किया जी। एक इनका गाना है नालसा का, आप अगर सुनाया हो संतोष ने तो, हक हमारा तो भी है। क्या शानदार गाना है जी। कि मैं गरीब हूं तो क्या हुआ, मैं कोई गांव से हूं तो क्या हुआ, मुझे अच्छा वकील करने का हक मेरा भी तो है। तो हक मेरा भी तो है, इस पे नालसा ने जो काम किया, और बहुत से काम नालसा ने इसमें, फास्ट ट्रैक विशेष न्यायालय योजना, न्याय बंधु योजना, न्याय विकास ग्राम न्यायालय योजना, न्याय वितरण के लिए राष्ट्रीय मिशन और कानूनी सुधार, बड़े काम किए जी। और इसका असर ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों में पहुंचा है। ग्रामीण जो लोग कहते हैं कि ये इतना अच्छा काम है नालसा का, स्टेट में सालसा का, फिर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में डालसा का, ये पूरा नेटवर्क बन गया जी। तो हमने कल राउंड टेबल, उसमें जो हमारी कॉन्फ्रेंस हो रही थी मिनिस्ट्रियल, उसमें हमने कहा कि हमने अच्छा किया है, आप सीख सकते हैं। आपने कुछ अच्छा किया है तो इंडिया सीखने के लिए तैयार है। तो ये जो हमारा मोटो था ग्लोबल साउथ का 17 नवंबर की कॉन्फ्रेंस का, टुगेदर फॉर एवरीवन्स ग्रोथ, एवरीवन्स ट्रस्ट, ये कल हमें देखने को मिला 27 को, आज भी हमें देखने को मिला 28 को। मैं एक चीज और कहना चाहता हूं कि जब ये 17 नवंबर को जो कॉन्फ्रेंस हुई थी, उसमें जो प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने 5C का एक मंत्र दिया था, वो मंत्र भी बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। 5C, कंसल्टेशन, कोऑपरेशन, कम्युनिकेशन, क्रिएटिविटी, कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग। ये भी मंत्र जोरदार है। मुझे लगता है कि इन 2 दिनों में इन सारी चीज़ों को हमने नॉलेज भी हमने साझा किया है, और नॉलेज साझा करके हमने आपस में ज्ञान को भी बांटा है। हो सकता है कि आप अपना देश छोड़ के आए हो तो कुछ थोड़ी तकलीफ ठहरने में हुई होगी, वो आप यहीं छोड़ के जाना। जो इंडिया के लोगों ने प्रेम दिया है उसी को लेकर के जाना, ये मेरा आपसे अनुरोध है। एक्सेस टू जस्टिस का प्रश्न केवल लागत कारक तक सीमित नहीं है, कॉस्ट आ गई वहां तक सीमित नहीं है। भाषा भी लंबे समय से कई लोगों के लिए एक बाधा रही। लैंग्वेज, लोकल लैंग्वेज में हमें निर्णय उपलब्ध है क्या? हालांकि इस मामले में मुझे खुशी है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अपने फैसले क्षेत्रीय भाषाओं में उपलब्ध कराना शुरू कर दिया है। दिस कैन बी रेप्लिकेटेड बाय मेनी कंट्रीज। ये कल भी हमारी जो मिनिस्टर्स की राउंड टेबल्स कॉन्फ्रेंस थी, उसमें उन्होंने कहा कि हम रीजनल लैंग्वेज में भी हमारे जो डिसीजन है सुप्रीम कोर्ट का, हम उपलब्ध कराना चाहते हैं। तो मैं ऑनरेबल चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया जो हमारे चंद्रचूड़ साहब, उनको कहना चाहता हूं कि एक आपका आइडिया तो इन्होंने ग्रहण कर ही लिया है, कल एक्सेप्ट कर लिया। और मैंने कहा एग्रीड ना, तो उन्होंने कहा 100% एग्रीड। और उन्होंने कहा हमारे सीजीआई साहब को धन्यवाद देना इस काम के लिए, ये भी उन्होंने कहा था। इन फर्स्ट वॉइस ऑफ द ग्लोबल समिट, पीएम नरेंद्र मोदी जी proposed setting up a center of excellence for the global south. ये भी उनका एक उद्देश्य था. इन सेकेंड वॉइस ऑफ ग्लोबल समिट दक्षिण, आप देखिए क्या अच्छा नाम दिया प्रधानमंत्री जी ने, DAKSHIN, दक्षिण. इसका मतलब हुआ डेवलपमेंट एंड नॉलेज शेयरिंग इनिशिएटिव ग्लोबल साउथ सेंटर ऑफ एक्सेलेंस. और इसका 2 दिनों में कौल साहब ने तो इनोग्रेशन भी कर दिया, प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जो सोचा था वो पूरा कर दिया. आपको बहुत बहुत बधाई, बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं, धन्यवाद. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Thank you, sir. May I now request the Honorable Mr. Justice Sanjeev Khanna, Judge, Supreme Court of India and Chairman, Supreme Court Legal Services Committee, to present a summation of deliberations.
Srimati Draupadi Murmu, Honorable and Respected President of India, Dr. D.Y. Chandrachud, the Chief Justice of India and Pattern Chief NALSA, Mr. Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, Judge Supreme Court of India and Executive Chairman NALSA, Shri Arjun Ram Meghwal, Minister of State for Law and Justice, Ms. Jennifer Smith, Executive Director, International Legal Foundation, judges and ministers, delegates, and distinguished guests, namaste and good evening. As we bid farewell to this momentous and impactful conference, it is with profound sense of gratitude and accomplishment that I reflect with the wealth of insights, evaluations, and shared commitment that we have defined our time together. The first day began with the inaugural session, which set the tone of the conference. Why is it so important to have conversations around legal aid in the global south? The 2 roundtables resulted in impactful consensus on the role of the judiciary and the state in guaranteeing access to just legal aid to one and all. The Chief Justices Roundtable saw active engagement by Chief Justices and senior judges from 15 countries. Conversations delved into the distinctions and similarities among different legal systems, encompassing the manner in which entitlement to legal aid is codified. The focus extended to establishment, the financial backing of the entities, and to providing legal assistance, as well as delivery of legal aid services. The phases of access, legal support for individuals such as suspect, those under arrest, and the accused were explored. There is an agreement on necessity to extend assistance from the outset of criminal proceedings. Significance was placed on enhancing court effectiveness by streamlining procedural complexities and by measures such as electronic filing and virtual hearing. The Chief Justice's Roundtable has resulted in a written consensus of the participating delegates, a benchmark document, the New Delhi Principles. The Ministerial Roundtable, a vision was articulated where the rule of law is just not a legal doctrine, but an essential underpinning of economic activity and shared economic growth. Central to the deliberations has been the recognition that access to justice is not merely a component, but a linchpin to achieving sustainable development goals. Ministers recognize the vital role of inclusive legal aid services in promoting peace, justice, and robust institutions. Another aspect which emerged from the discussion is the pivotal role of data and transformative decision-making power. The importance of harnessing technology and empirical evidence for policy formation to track progress and address gaps in justice system were underscored. In the conclusion, the delegates agreed to the New Delhi statement. It was agreed that the statement would be reviewed and then adopted at the next ministerial round to be organized virtually in early 2024. The delegates pledged concrete actions through increased cooperation. Parallel sessions were conducted in the first and the second day on several relevant aspects of broader themes. We had judges, program directors, heads of international organizations, and domain experts speaking to us on the existing justice gap, and the importance of working towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. The sessions emphasized on the need for paradigm shift from the people-centric to the people-centric justice system, a system that places individuals at the forefronts. The sessions highlighted how gaps in legal aid often create a cascading effect gripping individuals and families. The lack of legal representation can lead to web of losses, loss of housing, unemployment, substance abuse, family breakdowns, and health crisis. The loss of one element sets a chain reaction affecting every facet of an individual's life. The collateral damage ripples through the families and strains mental and physical health. The session saw many examples from around the world being shared, providing a fantastic opportunity to us to emulate these practices in the local contexts. These are rooted in the principles of accessibility, inclusivity, utilizing technology, providing awareness, and engaging with marginalized groups. It is also important to measure the quality of legal aid representation meted out in our legal jurisdictions and in assessing these services. Systemic reforms are to be supplemented with training and investment, the need and efficacy of which can be understood with timely and data-driven quality evaluation and monitoring. Several methods for undertaking this process of monitoring justice institutions by the state and non-state actors from across the global south were shared by the participants. Strategies for reducing pre-trial detention, especially through early and effective access to legal services, were discussed. Apart from capacity building for lawyers and legal aid providers, countries have successfully developed mechanisms to facilitate better services for specific categories of persons, such as creating prison legal aid desks, police station legal aid schemes. Some countries have also implemented diversion schemes and decriminalized laws to reduce overrepresentation of women and other marginalized communities in the prison, and creating a change in the systemic level. Discussions were also centered around sustainable funding mechanisms, innovating financing models for effective state funding, legal stream, and services. Many speakers highlighted allotting funds to legal aid services and institutions must be given top priority by the government, without which coordination at other levels will fall short of achieving meaningful change. Taking off from the importance of providing legal aid in family law issues, the rights of children in conflict of law, the role of legal aid in consonance with this was discussed. Speakers emphasized on creating child-sensitive laws, policies, and specialized institutions within the justice system. Other marginalized communities, such as indigenous groups and those affected by loss of land, greatly benefit from legal aid. Right to land and housing is directly related to the fundamental right to life, as well as preservation of natural resources and environmental justice on the whole. Specialized forums and schemes need to exist for vulnerable populations so that they can effectively claim their rights. In our midst are legal aid experts hailing from diverse countries and organizations who have diligently gathered and analyzed data to comprehend the shortcomings in delivering high-quality legal aid and creating an equitable society. This presents an invaluable opportunity to us to open up and embrace feedback and criticism. Secondly, to ensure effective policy implementation, it is imperative that we adopt objective parameters and employ rigorous analysis methods. Utilizing key performance indicators serves as a tangible and measurable approach to gauge the success of policy initiatives. Such indicators, such as percentage increase in access to legal aid services or reduction in disparities across different demographic groups, offer quantifiable metrics for evaluation. Let us continue working together in this highly corroborative and innovative manner to achieve success of ensuring justice to all. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. May I now request the Honorable Dr. Justice Dhananjay Yashwant Chandrachud, Chief Justice of India and Patron-in-Chief NALSA, to present the keynote address.
Honorable President of India, Srimati Draupadi Murmuji, brother judges, Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, Justice Sanjeev Khanna, Minister of Law and Justice, Shri Arjun Ram Meghwal, Ms. Jennifer Smith, Executive Director of the International Legal Foundation, esteemed Chief Justices, my own distinguished colleagues in the Supreme Court, judges of the High Court, ministers and dignitaries from participating countries, delegates and guests. I have pleasure in extending my heartiest congratulations to the National Legal Services Authority of India, the International Legal Foundation, the United Nations Development Programme, and the United Nations Children Fund for a successful, productive, and historic conference. This momentous occasion reflects the collective commitment of nations in the Global South to address critical challenges surrounding legal aid and justice. The conference has served as a vital reminder of the importance of cross-fertilization of legal traditions, legal doctrine, and unique administrative measures between different nations. This morning, the Chief Justices from the Ivory Coast, South Sudan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Cameroon, Botswana, and Ghana joined me in the Chief Justice's Court of the Supreme Court and observed the hustle and bustle of the Indian Supreme Court's quintessential miscellaneous day. As nations of the Global South, we share a historical context that ties our present legal systems together. We have shared ordeals of various kinds, pressing social and economic predicaments that came to define our identities. In recent years, the decisions of constitutional courts in several Global South jurisdictions, such as South Africa, India, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Kenya, have become the primary catalysts of comparative constitutional law. A renowned scholar used the expression transjudicial communication to describe this trend. Our laws and legal systems bear more than a few similarities, and we frequently witness an osmosis of judicial opinions and practices. Both on a regional and a global level, mutual inspiration is increasingly drawn from the case law of peer courts of other countries and even other continents, which gives rise to the cross-fertilization of legal ideas. The Indian Penal Code and Contract Act form the basis of analogous statutes in Bangladesh. It is also the site of several constitutional exports from India, the rarest of rare doctrine for awarding the death penalty, the public trust doctrine in environmental law, and none other than the basic structure doctrine itself. A 7-judge bench of Kenya's Court of Appeal has also applied the basic structure doctrine to place limits on the amending powers of Parliament and foster responsive constitutionalism. Similarly, the High Court of Eswatini has cited with approval our judgment in Justice K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India, where we recognized the fundamental right to privacy. I would like to mention an interesting feature of this judgment of the High Court of Eswatini. It was published along with an apology by the authoring judge for the delay in pronouncing the decision, which I believe exhibits stellar judicial accountability. I also noticed the use of neutral citations, which we launched in India earlier this year. Another remarkable illustration of transjudicial communication was the Supreme Court of Jamaica delving into the reasoning of the dissent in the Aadhaar case to declare that its National Identification and Registration Act was unconstitutional. The reason why I mention this is not because I was the sole dissenter in the Aadhaar case. Further, the Sri Lankan Supreme Court discussed as many as 20 Indian cases that involved Article 14 of the Indian Constitution in a case about equality of opportunity in university admissions. In my opening address, I briefly referred to the attempts by the Indian Supreme Court to increase access to justice by way of its public interest jurisprudence. Our court removed procedural barriers to access the Supreme Court and allowed all citizens to approach the court for the alleviation of socio-economic injustices. The South African Constitutional Court has on several occasions relied on Indian jurisprudence in that regard, For example, in Minister of Health versus Treatment Action campaign in 2002, where the issue concerned injunctive writs against the state, the South African Constitutional Court relied on the Indian case, MC Mehta versus State of Tamil Nadu of 1986, noting the Indian Supreme Court's willingness to grant far-reaching constitutional and remedial remedies. The sharing of judicial ideas is not a one-way street, and the Indian Supreme Court has also greatly benefited from the creative jurisprudence emerging from several nations in the global south. Our court has relied heavily on several legal principles postulated by the South African court while dealing with issues of affordable housing. Recently, the Supreme Court of India discussed the horizontal application of rights against both state and non-state actors, placing reliance on South African precedent. Indeed, the invisible hand of the global north finally seems to be lifting, and the subaltern voices from the global south are becoming more routine, if not prominent. Be it developing environmental jurisprudence or formulating novel legal aid policy measures, such as the police duty solicitor scheme by the Nigerian government, which provides free legal aid at the pre-trial stage, the global south has in many ways become a north star for all nations around the globe. This exchange of ideas has not only been restricted to judicial principles, but we have also learned from each other on the administrative side to facilitate access to justice. For example, Bangladesh's Amar Vasha software, which can translate a judgment in 3 minutes into Bangla, uses the machine learning based translation called SUAS, which was developed by the Supreme Court of India. In the Chief Justice's Roundtable, my counterparts and I got the opportunity to discuss several other avenues for collaboration, including use of technology to make our courts more accessible. At the end of the roundtable, we successfully adopted the New Delhi principles on the role of the judiciary in ensuring equal access to justice for all in the global south, which lays great emphasis on legal representation, legal aid, affordability, legal education, and awareness. I am confident that these principles will serve as a base document for further discussion and engagement between nations of the global south. We have all come to realize that we are intrinsically a part of a common sustainable development goal to promote legal aid. We have accepted that judges have a vital role to play in facilitating access to justice, and legal aid is an intrinsic element of the process. Legal aid, as we decided yesterday, is agnostic to the serious nature of a crime. Yet there are regional diversities. Legal aid is provided either in our constitutions or in our statutes or in both. In some countries, state funding is channelized through autonomous institutions like India. In others, the executive performs the role of being the dispenser of legal aid. The right to legal aid, all Chief Justices concluded, has to begin at the earliest stage, even before arrest. There is a need for judges to publicize schemes and educate not just students but the wider community. And finally, we dwelt on the importance of technology in fostering access which is equal between our citizens. Significantly, this conference has been a platform to not only engage with dignitaries from other countries, but also learn from non-governmental organizations and independent actors. Previously, Honorable President Murmu had highlighted the plight of under-trial prisoners and the need to decongest our prisons. I have been told that several plenary meetings at this conference discussed strategies to overcome these hurdles. Certain ingenious ideas were floated. I would like to highlight 2 of them. Uganda's Justice Defenders have started a law firms within prison project which trains jail inmates to self-represent their cases. International Legal Foundation's holistic defense model, widely successful in Afghanistan and Myanmar, provides client-centric aid by roping in various government agencies and mental health care institutions at both the pre-trial and post-trial stage. In conclusion, as we draw the curtains on this unique conference, the commitments made, principles endorsed, and innovative strategies deliberated upon signal a promising trajectory towards a more inclusive and responsive legal landscape in the global South. Undoubtedly, the success and profound impact of this historic conference paves the way for numerous forthcoming editions. But above all, it's in our soft cultural power that the worth of the conference really weighs, as we say in many Indian languages, in gold. Once again, I extend my congratulations to the organizers and gratitude to the dignitaries who have joined us from across the globe. I finally end my brief presentation by thanking from the bottom of our heart the Honorable President of India. Ma'am, what you said last year on the occasion of the Constitution Day has deeply impacted not only our jurisprudence, not only our processes, but is now spreading its wings far beyond our shores into the countries of the global South. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. May I now request the Honorable Chief Justice of India to present a memento to the Honorable President of India. May I now request the Honorable President of India, Srimati Draupadi Murmu ji, to present the valedictory address.
Chief Justice of India, Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud ji, Judge, Supreme Court of India, and Executive Chairman of the National Legal Services Authority, Sri Justice Sanjay Kisan Kaul ji, Judge, Supreme Court of India, and Chairman of the Supreme Court Legal Services Committee, Sri Justice Sanjeev Khanna ji, Union Minister of State for Law and Justice, Sri Arjun Ram Meghwal ji, Executive Director of International Legal Foundation, Ms. Jennifer Smith, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Namaskar, Johar. I am indeed happy to be here to attend the first regional conference on access to legal aid. I believe that making legal aid accessible to people in need is the cornerstone of any modern state. It plays a crucial role in shaping a social order which is equitable, just, and worthy of trust. With participation of 69 Africa, Asian, Pacific countries of the Global South in this conference, this event is a significant milestone in our collective pursuit of justice and equality. I am sure this meeting has provided a platform to you all, judges, ministers, civil society experts, and other distinguished stakeholders to share lessons in improving access to justice. I understand this is for the first time that the leaders of the two pillars of democracy, legislature and the judiciary, came together to deliberate on this subject. Among the topics you have discussed, there is one relating to strategies for reducing pre-trial detention, including through provision of early access to legal aid services. Various factors are responsible for large numbers of pre-trial or under-trial prisoners. They lose crucial years of their lives behind the bars of many cases. All efforts must be made to provide timely and effective legal aid to them. Also, another topic of the conference about the role of bar associations, university clinics, paralegals, and civil society is important, as we need to make the whole society a part of the solution. The quality and effectiveness of legal aid services is, of course, vital, and there is always room for improvement in that area. Ladies and gentlemen, Access to justice for all has been a theme close to my heart. In fact, it was only 2 days ago, on the occasion of Constitution Day, that I had yet again stressed its importance. Equality is not only the foundation of justice, but a necessary condition of justice too. It has been long since the world proclaimed that all human beings are equal, but we need to ask ourselves if we all have equal access to justice. In practice, it means some people are often unable to seek redressal of their grievances due to several factors. Our principal task is to remove those obstacles. The chief obstacle, of course, is often the cost of justice. In India, several praiseworthy steps have been taken to help economically disadvantaged sections of society to approach legal institutions for remedial action. Equal justice and free legal aid has been incorporated in the Constitution of India among directive principles of state policy. In light of the international commitment as well as the constitutional obligation, the right to free legal service is recognized as a statutory guaranteed right in India. Moreover, the Legal Services Authorities Act of 1987 has resulted in the creation of legal services institutions at various levels. Steps taken by the National Legal Services Authority, that is NALSA, have also played a key role in expanding legal aid. The aim on the whole has been to advance ease of justice. But I feel that there is a need to launch an awareness campaign among people, not only to make them conscious of their rights, but also to help them get legal assistance if such a need arises. Such an awareness campaign must focus on rural areas and socially disadvantaged groups to dispel the impression that justice is the advantage of the stronger. There are many more hindrances in the way of equal access to justice. In India, for example, the language of the higher judiciary is English, which makes it difficult for a large section of society to understand the judicial processes. However, the Supreme Court of India has started publishing verdicts in various regional languages in its website. Legal aid institutions also help in bridging the language divide. Technology holds great promise in making access to legal aid more democratic. It has reduced distances and made justice dispensation easier in many cases. I am sure your discussions must have touched upon the use of technology in furthering the cause of justice. An innovative attitude in integration of technology in the justice delivery system will make it more inclusive as well as more efficient. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a regional conference with a focus on the Global South. Due to a variety of historical forces, this group of countries still continues to battle poverty. The task before us is to raise the standards of living for all. Gandhiji used to call it Sarvodaya, the welfare of all. Access to justice is naturally a very important tool to achieve that goal. The Global South then faces challenges which are quite similar in nature, yet they are different from the rest of the world. We can respond to those challenges by joining hands and by sharing our best practices. Conferences like this one not only provide an ideal platform to do so, they also have the potential to deliver much more. They can help us reduce socio-economic disparities at home. Moreover, with more democratic and efficient justice systems, the Global South can take a lead in showing the way to more sustainable development for the whole world. In fact, improving access to justice is an effective tool to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly SDG 16. With that aim in mind, and in order to strengthen the South-South collaboration, India organized 2 Voice of Global South Summits this year. The first summit in January, with the theme of Unity of Voice, Unity of Purpose, marked a new beginning. The second summit, earlier this month, had the theme of Global South, Together for Everyone's Growth, Everyone's Trust. The representatives of the Global South discussed ways to achieve shared aspirations for inclusive and equitable international development. The voice of the Global South was also heard in the G20 summit under India's presidency this year. Our priority is to make the G20 inclusive and people-centric. Ladies and gentlemen, I am sure that 2 days of deliberations have achieved the objectives of the conference, and you have explored opportunities for greater regional and international collaboration and sharing of innovations, knowledge, and strategies, including through a regional legal aid network. Let us use this platform to work together to change the lives of people in our countries by enhancing legal aid and access to justice. I wish to acknowledge the efforts of the National Legal Services Authority and the collaborators, International Legal Foundation, United Nations Development Program, and United Nations Children Fund for conceptualizing and organizing this conference. My best wishes to all the distinguished guests and participants in this conference for success in their efforts to strengthen the legal aid system and promote a people-centric approach in facilitating access to justice. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Please rise for the national anthem. We would also like to thank all our distinguished guests who have come to India to participate in the first regional conference on access to legal aid. Thank you very much. Good night.